Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Books and Bytes, where we take a deep dive into the fascinating world of ideas. Today, we're unpacking a truly ambitious and really thought-provoking work, Balaji Srinivasan's groundbreaking book, The Network State.
Yeah, this one's a big one. This deep dive is all about exploring a pretty radical blueprint for the future of human organization, wouldn't you say?
Definitely radical.
Srinivasan proposes that new countries, new sovereign entities, can actually be formed online, literally, starting in the cloud.
From the cloud, right?
And then, crucially, they crowdfund physical territory all around the world.
With quite a vision.
It is, and it's born from this really profound critique of our existing systems, our nation states, and a firm belief that technology offers a totally new path.
A path to build societies that are more aligned, more based on actual consent.
Exactly, more consensual societies.
That's right. So our mission today is to really distill those core arguments. We want to understand the practical steps he outlines for building these things.
For how-tos, yeah.
And explore the far-reaching implications. I mean, this is a seriously bold idea. We want to help you grasp what it all means for the world you live in, because it really challenges our basic notions of governance and community.
Absolutely. And at its core, the network state kind of presents three main interlocking ideas.
Yep.
First, there's this comprehensive, maybe even stark critique of the nation state, arguing it's declining and we urgently need new forms of governance.
Yeah. Problem statement first.
Right. Second, it gives us a detailed, almost like a programmatic proposal for what a network state actually is.
A definition.
Yeah, a digitally native, consent-based, and geographically distributed polity. It's a very specific vision, not just vague concepts.
And the third core idea, you said interlocking.
Right. The third is maybe the most compelling bit for many people. It's a concrete, step-by-step vision of how these entities could actually be built.
Okay, the practical application.
Exactly. Bringing together cutting-edge tech, dedicated communities, and innovative capital models. This is where the theory meets the road, so to speak.
Great. So let's really dig into the mechanics of that and why he thinks it matters so much right now.
Okay, let's start with the absolute core question. What exactly is a network state, according to Srinivasan?
Yeah, let's get the definition straight first.
Okay, so he provides this complex, multifaceted definition. It's quite a mouthful, honestly.
Brace yourself.
He says it's a social network with a moral innovation, a sense of national consciousness, a recognized founder, a capacity for collective action, an in-person level of civility, an integrated cryptocurrency, a digital passport, a consensual government limited by a social smart contract, an archipelago of crowd-funded physical territories, a virtual capital, and an on-chain census that proves a large enough population, income, and real estate footprint to attain a measure of diplomatic recognition.
Wow, okay. That's incredibly dense, almost overwhelming.
It is.
But it's not just a random list of features, is it? It sounds like the real core insight there is this radical idea of building sovereignty entirely from the ground up,
Yes.
based on explicit digital consent, first, and then distributed physical nodes. It just completely flips the script on the territorial, inherited nature of traditional states.
It really does. Sovereignty by choice, as you said, not by accident of birth.
And it's important, like you mentioned, to clarify, this isn't about being, say, anti-American in some destructive way or anti-any specific nation.
You've hit on a really crucial distinction there. The book actually uses this fascinating analogy. It looks at how new nations like America or Israel, India, Singapore, how they became post-British.
Oh, okay.
It suggests moving beyond the existing frameworks, evolving past them, not necessarily rejecting them outright.
So building something new on top or alongside.
Kind of. The fundamental problem he's addressing, as the book puts it, is this dynamic of the fall of the state and the rise of the network.
Because the internet has just changed everything.
Exactly. It has invisibly shattered and remade the world. It's a recognition that the foundational assumptions of the 20th century, maybe they're cracking.
Okay, so to really get the why behind this whole proposal, we need to contrast it with what we know, the traditional nation state.
Right.
What is a nation state in this context, and why does Srinivasan argue it's actually in decline?
Well, the standard definition, like from Britannica, calls it a territorially bounded sovereign polity, ruled in the name of a community of citizens that identify themselves as a nation.
Okay.
And the key distinction, which is super important here, is between the nation, that's the group of people, often with shared culture, language, history, whatever,
The people.
and the state, which is their government, their apparatus of rule.
Got it. Nation and state aren't identical.
They're not the same thing, though they often overlap, of course. And what's crucial to Srinivasan's argument is that this construct, the nation-state, is maybe failing to serve its citizens adequately anymore. It's not keeping up.
And the book points to these 8 rules of the nation-state club. These aren't written down laws, right? More like unwritten norms.
Exactly. Unwritten rules that govern international relations, like the strong preference not to admit new members.
Which is why we see so few new countries getting recognized.
Precisely. And it's backed by institutions like the UN, even the military force of major powers like the US. Another rule might be, the expectation of having one unified military or a single national currency or clear defensible borders.
And this immediately makes you wonder, well, what happens to groups who identify as a nation but don't have a state? Nations without states like the Kurds or the Catalonians, maybe?
That's a central tension, yes. They lack that formal recognition and often get caught between existing powers.
And these modern nation-states, the book reminds us, were mostly founded during really specific historical moments, post-World War II.
The Cold War, decolonization.
Right. And in some places, this actually led to a pretty stark shift towards more monoethnic states, sometimes through really large, painful population transfers as borders got redrawn.
It's a messy history.
So the traditional ways of making new states, elections within the system, revolution, war, even those quirky micronations, Srinivasan argues these are all problematic now.
Yeah, he sees them as dead ends for creating genuinely new aligned societies. Micronations, for example. He says they fail because fundamentally too few people care. They lack real legitimacy.
Like Sealand, that platform in the North Sea. More of a curiosity than a country.
Exactly, a historical footnote.
Okay, so if those old paths are blocked, or just don't work for creating better societies, how on earth do you actually build a network state? It sounds incredibly ambitious, maybe impossible to some.
It does sound huge.
What are some of the big practical hurdles he acknowledges, and how does he propose getting over them?
Okay, that's where the stages of evolution concept comes in. He lays out this sequential progression. Think of it like stages in a startup's life cycle.
Okay, step by step.
It starts with what he calls a network union. This is purely digital at first. A social graph online, but with key elements. A clear leader, a defined purpose, that moral innovation, again, a crypto-based financial system, and a daily call to action to keep people engaged.
So like the seed startup phase, building the initial community online.
Exactly. It's about forming a high-trust community, but with this explicit goal of eventually moving into the real world.
So the network union builds the trust. How does he suggest they actually do that offline? Is it just meetups or?
It's more than just meetups. He really emphasizes high-trust, real-world interaction, not just liking posts online.
Right, real connection.
Yeah, it could be shared community service projects, co-working spaces specifically for members, study groups around that common purpose, even just regular dinners, face-to-face social capital.
Okay, building the foundation.
That's the bedrock for everything that follows. From there, it evolves into a network archipelago.
Archipelago, like a chain of islands.
Kind of. This is when the network union starts to crowdfund actual physical real estate around the world. We're talking apartments, houses, maybe even whole towns eventually.
Wow.
And linking them all digitally, creating this distributed network of physical places. This stage is like a Series B company. It's scaling up, involving community-owned residential and commercial real estate.
So you could be living in one of these crowdfunded places, and your neighbor, in the network sense, could be across the globe, but you're connected digitally and share this core belief.
That's the vision. A distributed community, physically and digitally linked.
Fascinating. And the final stage, the payoff.
That's the full-fledged network state. This happens when the network archipelago achieves diplomatic recognition from at least one pre-existing government.
The stamp of legitimacy.
Yeah, like a public company that's gone through all the regulatory hoops and is recognized on the world stage.
And how does this work financially? You mentioned crypto.
Right. It operates on what he calls a society-as-a-service model, size, like software.
Society as a service.
Cool, Think of it like a subscription, but instead of Netflix, you're subscribing to a society. As a netizen, you're not just a passive user, you're more like a shareholder subscriber.
Shareholder subscriber. Interesting.
You buy into its digital currency, kind of like a share, and maybe pay a monthly subscription for a digital passport.
And that passport gets you?
Access to both online services within the network and offline services or spaces controlled by the network state. The really profound shift here, he argues, is that the focus moves away from technology just being a product.
To the community itself being the value.
Exactly. And the citizens are active, invested participants, not just consumers or subjects.
And there's a practical blueprint, a step-by-step guide.
Yeah, he outlines a pretty rigorous 7-step process. Starts with building that trust offline, like we said.
Right.
Then crowdfunding the physical nodes.
The archipelago.
And digitally connecting these communities, conducting an on-chain census.
On-chain census, what's that?
It sounds technical, but it's basically a publicly verifiable count of citizens recorded on a blockchain.
Ah, so it's transparent and hard to fake.
Extremely hard to fake, which is crucial for proving legitimacy to other nations, showing you have the population size.
Okay. And the final step is getting that diplomatic recognition.
Right. The core idea, summed up, is to populate the land from the cloud and do so all over the earth.
Populate the land from the cloud. That's a phrase.
It is. And this makes it really different from existing structures, right? It's not a traditional city-state, which is all in one place, geographically concentrated, easy to invade.
Because the network state is spread out.
Decentralized.
Geographically decentralized and digitally encrypted. And it's also distinct from, say, a big multinational corporation like Google or Apple.
How so?
Because its users, its citizens, develop a real national consciousness, a shared identity and purpose, not just a consumer relationship with a brand.
Got it. Okay, so that's the what and the how, but you mentioned there's a deeper why. Yes. To really get the scale of this ambition, we need to zoom out a bit. Srinivasan doesn't just give us a blueprint. He grounds it in this deep rereading of history and a diagnosis of the fundamental forces shaping our world right now.
Okay.
He argues understanding this deeper context is essential if you actually want to build the future. Let's start with how he sees history itself.
How does he see history?
He argues history isn't just about, learning dates and past events. It's a crucial applied subject.
Applied?
For building the future. He encourages founders, leaders, anyone building something new to become counter-historians.
Counter-historians.
Yeah, to challenge existing rules and regulations like, say, the FDA's drug approval process and the lag it creates by understanding their historical origins. Asking, why was this rule made? Does it still make sense today?
So using history to question the present.
Exactly. He sees history not as some neat linear path, but as a cryptic epic of twisting trajectories, which is a really different way to think about societal problems, isn't it?
It definitely is. Twisting trajectories. I like that.
And building on that point about history, the book makes this really interesting, maybe provocative case about Bitcoin's blockchain.
Oh, okay. How does that fit in?
He suggests it offers a new kind of history, a robust macrohistory, because it's a cryptographically verifiable history.
I mean,
think of it like a tamper-proof digital ledger. Every transaction, every event recorded on it is linked using advanced math, cryptography, making it practically impossible to falsify or secretly rewrite.
So unlike traditional history books or records, which can be biased, censored, lost, or faked.
Exactly. This offers a potential level of historical integrity, of truth that we haven't really had before. It's indelible, computable, digital, authenticatable history.
That really makes you think about truth in the digital age. What can we actually trust?
And this leads him directly into what he calls the 3 Leviathans.
Leviathans, like the biblical sea monster, Thomas Hobbes.
Sort of drawing on that idea of overwhelming power. Srinivasan identifies 3 dominant forces that have shaped or are shaping society.
Okay, what are they?
First, God representing religious authority, traditional morality, which he sees as the primary force guiding society back in the 1800s, maybe earlier.
Right.
Second, the state-centralized government power, nationalism, bureaucracy, which became dominant in the 1900s.
Okay, makes sense.
And third, the network, the decentralized, global, internet-enabled force, which he argues is the emerging Leviathan today.
God's state network.
Yeah. And the really crucial question becomes, what happens when these massive forces collide or when they try to merge?
And we're seeing those collisions already, aren't we?
Yeah.
All around us.
Absolutely. The network, just by its nature with pseudonymity, strong cryptography, is already partially obstructing the state's traditional tools. Surveillance becomes harder. Controlling information flow is harder.
Right.
The book gives some potent examples like the Texit movement, tech people leaving places like San Francisco due to political friction, or China's very aggressive crackdowns on its own tech founders and companies.
Yeah, the Alibaba situation, Jack Ma.
Exactly. And then you have the ongoing debates about AI bias, about censorship, about digital deplatforming people getting kicked off platforms for their views.
These are all examples of that state versus network conflict.
Yes. Critical examples of this ongoing, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud conflict between political power and maybe technological truth, or at least technological reality.
And can these leviathans merge, synthesize?
He explores that too, both potentially benign and potentially quite malign syntheses.
Okay, give me an example of benign.
Well, a network God fusion? Maybe that could look like an AI god.
Hmm?
Imagine a future GTT9 or DLA10 providing superhuman insights, creative outputs, almost like a digital oracle.
Interesting. And malign.
The malign network state fusion is maybe more visible right now. Think about China's use of technology for social credit and surveillance. Or even in the US, the tech lash, where there's pressure for centralized tech platforms to cooperate with state power.
Like the idea of tech being acquired at gunpoint by the state?
That's his phrase, yeah. Or forced to comply, like during the Parler deplatforming incident, where a social network was effectively shut down by major tech companies, arguably under political pressure.
Okay, this framework is really shifting how I think about current events.
It's a powerful lens, and he applies it to politics, too. He argues that traditional left and right labels are becoming less useful. They're more like temporary tactics, not fixed classes of people or ideas.
How so?
He illustrates this with what he calls four flippenings, situations where political alignments completely flipped.
Flippenings. Okay. Like what?
Well, one example is how the perception of the working class has changed so dramatically. From the idealized Soviet worker, Stakhanov, celebrated for productivity,
Okay, the hero worker.
to the later archetype of Archie Bunker in the U.S., representing a more culturally traditional, maybe resentful blue-collar figure. The same label, totally different connotations and political alignment.
That's a great example.
Another one is how environmentalism went from a fringe concern to a major political battleground. And he has this really provocative insight. Communism was state first, wokeness is network first.
Whoa. What does that mean?
It suggests that while old-school communism aimed to seize the power of the state apparatus, contemporary activist movements, what some call wokeness, primarily operate through influencing and controlling networks, social media, cultural institutions, corporations, different leviathan, different strategy.
That framework really helps make sense of why politics feels so confusing right now. Everything seems to be shifting.
It does feel that way, doesn't it? Because the underlying power structures, the leviathans, are in flux.
So where does this all lead? What's the end game?
Well, this culminates in what the book terms the tripolar moment.
Tripolar.
Yeah.
3 poles of power.
Exactly. He suggests the world is becoming, or maybe already is, tripolar, with 3 distinct centers vying for global influence.
Okay, who are the players?
First, the New York Times, which he uses as a symbol for the broader American establishment, what he calls moral power, the power to shape narratives, set cultural norms.
Okay, the power of the story.
Second, the CCP, the Communist Party of China, representing martial power, state control, military might, industrial capacity.
Clear enough.
And the third,
Bitcoin. BTC. Symbolizing the global internet or money power. An alternative, decentralized financial and information network outside the control of the first two.
NYT, CCP, BTC, moral, martial, money power.
Yeah. And he notes each has its own fundamental source of truth. Paper, media narratives, party, the party line, or protocol, the blockchain code, and each has its own digital economy growing around it.
So the big question for you, the listener, is how will these 3 poles interact? Compete? Cooperate? What's the dominant global conflict going to be about?
It's a huge question for the coming decades.
Looking even further ahead, what does the book see coming down the pike? Any specific technologies or scenarios? It definitely speculates. One prediction is that augmented reality, AR glasses, will be the next big convergence device.
Like smartphones were.
Exactly, something that pulls everything together, and AR glasses will further blur the lines between the physical and digital worlds, inevitably increasing our digital time. Imagine constantly seeing digital overlays on reality.
Yeah, that's easy to imagine, actually.
Another key point is how cryptoeconomics is transforming macroeconomics into an experimental subject.
How so? Experimental.
Because with digital currencies, you can actually issue new forms of money relatively easily. You can design and test new monetary policies in practice with real users in these startup societies or network states. It allows for rapid iteration and learning in a way that's impossible with national fiat currencies.
So economics becomes less theoretical, more hands-on?
Potentially, yes, you can run experiments.
And are there specific future scenarios he sketches out?
There's one particularly provocative one: American anarchy, Chinese control, international intermediate.
Okay, break that down. American anarchy.
It suggests a possible future where the U.S. experiences increasing internal conflict, maybe even a second American Civil War, but not fighting over land like the first one, instead, a network-to-network war.
A war for minds, for narratives, fought online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Happening within digital spaces, leading to fragmentation and maybe chaos, anarchy.
Okay. Then Chinese control.
Concurrently, it envisions China potentially solidifying its model of a robust, technologically sophisticated surveillance and control state. Very stable, but highly restrictive.
So two extremes, anarchy versus control.
Right, which leaves a space in the middle. That's the international intermediate.
What's that?
This is envisioned as a re-centralized center, potentially made up of many of these opt-in startup societies or network states, independent entities that deliberately avoid both the chaos of the American scenario and the totalitarianism of the Chinese one.
A third way, built by these new kinds of societies.
Offering a different path for organization.
Wow. Okay, one last key concept from the book that seems really crucial for actually building one of these things. The one commandment.
Ah, yes, this is super important. The one commandment.
What is it?
It's the idea that any successful startup society or network state needs a singular, focused moral critique or core purpose, something that really unites the community.
Like a mission statement, but deeper, more fundamental.
Exactly. It needs to combine the passion and fervor of a political movement with the laser focus of a successful startup. It's the why that binds everyone together.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. He suggests things like a community built around being a cancel-proof culture, where the core commandment is cancellation without due process is bad.
Okay, very specific value.
Or maybe a keto kosher community built around very specific dietary rules and the lifestyle that goes with them. Or perhaps a digital Sabbath society focused on structured, intentional disconnection from technology.
Or even an FDA-free society.
Yeah, focused on enabling radical innovation in health and medicine by opting out of existing regulations. The point is, it's a single, clear, deeply held value that attracts like-minded people.
So it offers this powerful new way to drive change, not by trying to reform the whole system, but by letting people opt into new communities built around shared values they really care about.
It's a really compelling idea, isn't it? Instead of fighting endless battles within existing, often gridlock systems, just build something new based on explicit consent and a common purpose.
So wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you, the listener? You're navigating this world of just unprecedented information, rapid change.
Yeah.
Srinivasan's The Network State, it presents this incredibly compelling, maybe challenging vision. The core takeaway seems to be that the very nature of sovereignty, of what it means to be a country, is shifting right under our feet.
Yeah, and that exit, the ability to leave and build something new, is becoming a potentially really powerful alternative to just using your voice to try and change the existing systems from within.
It suggests that your ability, our ability, to understand and maybe even shape these digital communities, that might actually be the key skill for building the societies of tomorrow.
It really does. It suggests that whether you're consciously thinking about and choosing your Leviathan, are you aligning more with traditional structures, God, established government state, or these emerging digital networks?
By maybe just reacting to them.
Or just reacting. The principles that matter seem to be collective action, leveraging technology effectively, and having that shared moral innovation, that one commandment. These are becoming really central to how humanity organizes itself.
It forces you to reconsider what actually binds people together in the 21st century.
Absolutely.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Given this perspective from the book, that history is a cryptic epic of twisting trajectories, and if we really are entering a time where, in some weird way, our future is our past, it prompts a really crucial question for you personally. What specific, maybe seemingly small daily decisions could you make in your own life to start building the kind of high-trust aligned network, maybe just with friends or colleagues or online groups that could, theoretically, someday evolve into something much, much bigger?
Yeah. What are the seeds you're planting in your own communities? What are the values you're actively sharing and reinforcing?
Something to think about.
Mhm.
A fascinating, challenging book.